So I've been playing a ton of Gardevoir recently, so I thought I'd do a matchup guide for it. We've got 8 matchups we're going to talk about with regards to Gardevoir. Gardevoir is super strong right now, probably the best second format in my opinion. It's been getting played a ton and it's super fun as well. So I thought I'd do a matchup guide for it. So I'm streaming as well. You can find my stream in the description, but let's get on to the first matchup. So this is Turbo. This is Lost Zone Turbo matchup. So Lost Zone are the hardest matchups for Gardevoir in general. Zard, Turbo Lost Zone, and Giratina I think the toughest matchups. Goodra is a lot easier, but they're not really a Lost Zone, even though they obviously have the Lost Zone engine. They don't have Sableye, which is a really big issue. So got to get around Sableye in some ways. But I put Zacian here because it is super important if you're going first to try, I mean, going second as well, but at the very least going first, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to hit Candy Guardy on turn 2. So what you want to do is you want to go Zacian and attach to it and Roar the Sword to it, so when knock out whatever's active, which can be a Rolt, a Mew, something like that. As long as your hand is pretty good, you kind of have to go for the Zacian, because you need to be attacking on turn 2. If you're not attacking on turn 2, you're too slow. If they've already taken 2 prizes, you're way too slow. They're going to Sableye before you. Like, you gotta do something about it. But if you attack with Zacian, if they have to cram into your Zacian, they can't knock you out with Dragonite. Even if they can knock you out with Dragonite, you can knock them out with Gardevoir, the Shiny Arcana Gardevoir. In return, if they knock you out with Dragonite. I would say Sky Steel Stone is really just Turbo Lost Zone, but with less good cards. So I'm mostly talking about Turbo with this, but yeah, if you attack with Zacian, they take Dragonite, you kill them with Shiny Arcana, and you're kind of going even in this prize trade, and you can Roxanne them super early. So even if they do kill your Zacian on the second turn, like after you attack with it for the first time, yeah, you still have play with Roxanne. Roxanne is super important. But if they just punch into your Zacian, just collapse it. You can collapse it away, attack with Gardevoir EX. Gardevoir EX is a super good attacker. It ends up being super hard for them to actually Drapion on any given turn, so attacking with Gardevoir EX is super nice. Judge plus Cresselia is also super good, a super good play you can do. It's even stronger in other matchups, but in this matchup they do have Greninja, so it's a bit easier for them to draw out of a Cresselia play with Judge. But they actually are super weak to Judge. When you start to play this matchup, if you can go Judge, like once, get it on a good turn, you can really, you can really like take over the game, to be honest. Because all it takes is them missing one turn. This game is really just, go. You attack one turn slower than them, so if they keep Sableyeing, they're always going to win faster than you. But, yeah, all it takes is one turn swing, right? So, that's what I'd say about the Turbo Lost Zone matchup. And we'll talk more in depth about the Lost Zone matchup in Zard. And this one I actually have Judge and Cresselia on the screen because this is the main thing. Now you have the same play. It's actually even better against this to go to Zacian on turn 1 because I actually don't have any good response to it. And a lot of the time you can collapse off the board on turn 2. But Cresselia Judge is so strong against Zard from what I've played. If you can get this play off, like, it's so brutal for them. If you can get it off on like turn 2, turn 3, that's where you're looking at getting this play off. It's so strong because their deck is kind of bricky because they don't have Greninja, so if their Cramorant's active, a lot of the time they don't have much that they actually can do. So yeah, like if they can't Sableye to kill your Cresselia, now what a lot of the time will happen to the Cresselia is they're just going to Sableye and kill it. But if you get like a turn 2, even a turn 3, Cresselia plus Judge, if they don't hit Sableye, they're in such a tough spot. And a lot of the time that will require them hitting Colress, which they don't have good odds to hit because they are Radiant Charizard. So I think that this matchup is slightly easier because the late game is harder because the Radiant Charizard comes in, it kills your Gardevoirs, which is a bit more annoying than the attacks that Turbo has. They really only have Sableye as their late game attacker unless they can hit Drapion. But your early game is so much stronger against Radiant Zard because their deck is kind of inconsistent. Always got to be aware of putting them into Roxanne plays. Is super important. You can get them into Roxanne as early as possible. Like, that's super nice. Like, even getting them into Roxanne turn early, so you can just Roxanne. You want to just Roxanne them as early as possible, because that's when it's most effective. You can even go Roxanne Cresselia, in a lot of spots. But the issue with that is, by that point, they're already at Sableye, and it's kind of hard to deal with, so you do just want to use the Cresselia as early as possible. You can even Miriam back to Cresselia. The Cresselia is such a strong attacker, but I would go Zacian first a lot of the time, but it's usually only going further. You can go second, you get Candy Guardy turn 2, you attack with Cresselia, it's super strong. Especially you can combine it with Judge, but the Judge isn't even needed always, but playing Judge is very strong in this matchup. So the next matchup we're going to talk about is Goodra. So The Goodra matchup really just comes down to how fast can you kill Goodra. So you have a prize race, but in the end game, you do trade favorably. Obviously, you kill that Goodra, they kill you back, you kill them again, right? You trade favorably with the Goodra, especially if you play Sky Stone. My current list doesn't play Sky Stone. List in description, by the way. First link in the description. For the list, I mean, you'll see it if you look there. But you can also go to my Twitch to find any of my more recent lists. But I'm not always playing Guardy, so might not be able to find it there. Anyways, yeah, if you have Sky Stone, you're trading super well into Gardevoir. So the main thing is you just need to set up early. This is another matchup where you can go Zacian attached to it, but it's not as crucial in this matchup. It's not as good as well because they can boss around you. You kind of just want to get Candy Guard EX. One thing about Goodra is they can't kill the Guard EX itself. So any one prize knockouts with Guard EX is super strong because they can't kill the Guardy. They have to boss it up later, and that's super annoying for them, especially when you start trading with Zacians. They already have 2 prizes on board anyway, so the prize they lost in the early game kind of just gets lost completely for the entire game. The prize they lost by not being able to kill the Guard EX once you start attacking with those Zacians. But the goal is get to 10 energies, start attacking. Make sure you play around getting boss stalled because that's one of their best plays. But if they boss stall you and you have the Zacian on the bench, don't be scared to penny up the Zacian that has a bunch of energy on it and just slowly start to discard and attach those energies. Because if they've gotten to the point where they're boss stalling, they're probably really far behind in attacks. And so you can really just start to get those energies, like you Ultra Ball 2 energies, you discard 1, you retreat 1. Just start attacking with Gardevoir EX maybe. I mean, it's not the best, it only does 110 damage, but yeah, the main goal is really just to play as fast as possible and try to get all 10 energies. So that's your goal. You usually want to be researching every turn, in my opinion. It's not as crucial to play Judge in this matchup because you have the winning strategy. Cresselia is also super good to the early prizes because even though you are trying to go for this sort of like Exodia combo, I guess, of killing with Zacian, which is kind of what you're building up for, you do need to take early prizes, and I think the best attackers for that, Cresselia and Gardevoir EX, as I already talked about. So yeah, put Greninja on the screen. Remember to mention Manaphy. Even though they are Goodra, they are a Lost Zone deck, so they do have access to Greninja, and Greninja is one of the big swing plays in this matchup if they ever get that. You don't want to be losing to that. A lot of time they'll go Boss Manaphy, and you just have to Miriam it back. But there's something I've found as well. They really like to go for Cram. Their Cram is super strong, but you don't have to worry about it too much. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to sort of like, yeah, getting the prize lead in this matchup, and as I said, attacking with Guard EX is super strong from what I've found. Next matchup we're going to talk about is Giratina. Got Sky Stone on the screen because Sky Stone is super good against Giratina getting prize trade. Got Cresselia as well because that card is insane. The issue with Giratina is they trade super well into your Guard EXs and your Zacians, right? They cram your Zacians, they kill your Guard EXs with Giratina. And so they are trading really well, but if you can just put 1 prizes in the active every single turn, it's very difficult for them. Now they are a Lost Zone deck, so I think generally they're going to be favored because as Gardevoir, your worst matchups, Lost Zone decks, right? That's sort of how this deck works. You have a good matchup spread across the board. You can beat almost anything, but when it comes to playing against Lost Zone decks, you're not great. So yeah, you want to go Cresselia early, the same as all the other Lost Zone matchups. You're just trying to get prizes in with Cresselia. You can also heal things that are already damaged. That's sort of the idea. But yeah, you just kind of have to find a way to create a winning prize trade. But if you're in a position where you're like at the point where, okay, if he kills with Giratina, I can just go Sky Stone. Super good. If you can go boss Sky Stone as well, that's super nice. If you don't play Sky Stone, like I'm currently not, it gets a little bit trickier. The Shining Arcana is super good. In general, using the Shining Arcana as a way to like sort of uptrade against a lot of decks is super important. We're going to talk about Lugia next, super important against that. But yeah. Those are the main ways to get ahead in prizes, but you don't want to be in a position where they can Sableye, kill your Arcana, and a Manaphy, because that's a bit too much. Them taking 2 prizes with Sableye is a bit too much. But in Lost Zone, a lot of the time in the late game, and I actually should have mentioned this when I talked about Zard, is that they really want to yeah, that they really want to like get prizes in easy ways. So like the Giratina deck usually isn't going to bench 2 Giratinas. They're going to go for 1. They might go for 2 sometimes, but they're usually going to go for 1, and that one's going to blow up your Guard EX, and that's all they need it for, right? That's all they really need it for. to take 2 prizes on Guard EX, and they can win. When you're on 1 prize, they're on 2, they blow up the Guard EX, they win, right? So if you can just get through the 1 and then start attacking with Guard EX, it's super strong because they don't have a great way to deal with Guard EX. That's sort of the main play you have in this matchup. You have Cresselia, you have Guard EX, right? So those are the main things. If you can evolve everything on your board, get Greninja healed up, you can use Penny to heal. Could be super good. And you'll at least be left with a good chance. You just got to be aware of all the things. Collapse is insane in any Lost Zone matchup. So that's what I have to say about all the Lost Zone decks. Those are the 4 Lost Zone decks. And now we'll move into the rest of the meta. I got 4 main decks. We got Lugia, we got Mew, we got Lugia, we got Gardevoir Mira, we got Mew, we got Miraidon. And the first one we're going to talk about is Lugia. Now, Lugia, the bane of Lugia's existence is Gardevoir. And more importantly, the bane of Lugia's existence is Shining Arcana Gardevoir. Because they want to attack with Tyranitar, and it is super weak into Shining Arcana Gardevoir. If you can get knockouts with Shining Arcana, it's so strong in this matchup. The thing is, Zacian kind of trades evenly, and a lot of the time Lugia is going to be getting the first prize. But a lot of their issue is that, yeah, the Shining Arcana just trades so favorably. 2 for 1 is ridiculous. So that's a lot of the idea. Yeah, if you want to... I mean, there isn't really much else in this matchup. You have, if you're playing Temple, that card is insane. You can go Roxanne Temple and then leave them without many good ways to attack, because attack with Lugia V-Star isn't great for them if you're playing more traditional lists with Sky Seal Stone. Then, yeah, you can knock out the Lugia with 3 prizes, and then they can't use Stonjourner, which is kind of a way they try and get back into the game all the time. The late game is use Stonjourner, and hope that you're not really going around it. So that's something to keep in mind. They will try and use Stonjourner against you, but... you want to go 2-2-2 usually, take 2 prizes on like a Lugia first, with Zacian, ideally, that'd be where you go first, or with Arcana. I mean, I guess Arcana is the main one. So let's put a sample situation. They attack twice with Lugia, you kill them with Arcana, and now if they kill your Arcana back, then they're on 3 prizes, you're on 4 prizes, you can just kill with Zacian into kill with Zacian, that's your 4 prizes, you win, right? So you kind of uptrade in that way a little bit. So, yeah, that's what I say about that. And yeah, you have to use a Shining Arcana, and you want to use the Shining Arcana early as well. You don't want to wait until it's too late to use the Shining Arcana, because a lot of the time then they're going to have a boss to win, right? You can use a Shining Arcana in combination with Roxanne and Temple, or something along those lines, just to decrease their odds of hitting boss kill on the following turn with Tyranitar, because... what they're trying to do is Tyranitar boss kill your Guard EX. That's what they're trying to do. That's their main way that they're trying to make counterplay and sort of attack you. Because you are super strong against them, and it's because of this card, mainly. And Temple as well is super nice, but... this list isn't really built towards beating Lugia. It's built towards beating other stuff, but the Lugia matchup doesn't tank that much. Only having 1 Shining Arcana is kind of annoying in this matchup, but it's not terrible at the end of the day. So the next matchup we have is the Gardevoir Mira. So this matchup is super interesting, and there's a lot of things I have to talk about in this matchup. So, if you're going first, if you want to start Zacian, because that means you can attack with it on turn 2. But if you don't start Zacian, you can't go Zacian and attach to it, because they're not going to kill anything, and you can't retreat, and you can't attack with Zacian the next turn. So if you're going first and you don't start Zacian, you're digging really hard to try and hit Candy Guardia on the second turn, because that'll get you ahead immediately. And you want to start Cresselia killing their Curliers. Now, a lot of the comeback potential in this matchup is just killing all of their Curliers. Literally every Curlier they have, every single one you see, every draw Pokemon you see, bossing it, Cresseliaing it, everything, and then you go for a massive Roxanne play. Your Roxanne, attack with Gardevoir EX, hope you survive. Not always exactly like that. You can go like Cresselia as well. You go like Cresselia once, okay, then I'll Miriam back to Cresselia, kill whatever you have active, and then after that, you can go into something else. Another good attacker in this matchup is Gardevoir EX itself. Only in the early turns though. If you can get a Gardevoir EX attack early, it's pretty decent. You can remove the damage later with Cresselia that you put on it, and then you kind of just got a prize relatively easily. So don't be scared to attack with Gardevoir EX when they're at the point they can't kill it. But if they can kill it, it's a big issue. So yeah, I think the main way to explain how you're supposed to play this matchup is just you're trying to get to the late game not being dead on board, I guess. If you're the one losing, you're trying to not get to the late game being dead on board. So But it is kind of tough sometimes, and being ahead in prize trade is super important. But killing their Curlies and stuff does reduce a lot of their comeback potential. You can also just go Cresselia Judge. Like, that's another thing you can do in this matchup. Just Cresselia, kill a Curlier, and play Judge, and they have to kind of respond to that. They kind of want to boss around the Cresselia. They want to use their own Cresselia. And if you're in a Cresselia trading war, it gets pretty interesting at the point at which you should actually attack with Miracle Force. Also, the issue with Cresselia is you can't attack with it too many times, because then they're going to attack with Gardevoir EX, kill your Cresselia, and all your energy is going to be spread out on board, and you're not going to be able to consolidate it into one big attacker to knock out the Gardevoir EX. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. Usually I only go for one Cresselia and then to knock out one Curlier, and then the rest of the plays order just come naturally from other attackers. Taking advantage of them spreading out their energies a lot, attacking with my Gardevoir EX and just hoping it doesn't die is a play I make a lot, especially when I'm losing in this matchup, because the obvious response to Cresselia is just Cresselia back. But if you Cresselia back and then Cresselia again, it's a bit annoying, and yeah. So that's what I'd say about the Gardevoir mirror. It's super complicated. Also, I don't know if I said this, but try and start Zacian. If you start Zacian going first, it's super nice. Going second, not as good, because I feel like going second, you have pretty good odds of hitting Candy Guardy. Going first, not as much. But yeah. Research to turbo through your deck, as always. Research is just the best supporter in this deck. That's just sort of just a passing comment here. So now we've got to talk about Mew. So I've got the Collapse Stadium on board. The main thing that you're thinking about as the Gardevoir player against on the screen. Anyways, the main thing you're thinking about as a Gardevoir player, how can I remove stadiums? How can I remove stadiums? Their way to win is they're going to be pathing and they're just going to kill your active, right? That's literally all they're going to do. They're going to path, kill your active. And they're just trying to survive as long as possible. And you have to get a knockout with Zacian before they get to 2 prizes. That's the main thing here. Before you get to 2 prizes, you have to be attacking with Zacian. If you can do that, you should generally be fine, especially if you have Sky Stone. If you don't have Sky Stone, they can Psychic Leap and put you in a bit of an awkward spot. But yeah, so the main thing here is just get set up, put Curliers. You definitely want to get Mew active turn 1. That is the best thing you can do. If you're going first, super nice. So yeah, if you're going first, super nice. You get 2 Mew procs, and that's super good. You're just trying to... I wouldn't even go Candy Guardy in this matchup, unless you can knock out... if you get to... Actually, no, never mind. If you get turn 2 Gardevoir EX knockout, it's super good. But otherwise, you're just trying to get as many Curliers on board as possible. Trade. It's refinement, not trade, but... As Zoroark back in the day, you're just trading as much as you can. Just get energies into the discard, play around Judge, play as many cards as you can, turbo research, bird your deck as fast as possible. This matchup isn't insane or anything, but it is generally pretty good. If you can just burn through. You're looking for 9, I think, yeah, 9 energies on the Mew VMAX. There's not really much else you can do with this. You're just trying to kill the active, try and kill with Sky Stone. If you can't kill with Celestial Stone, then just kill them naturally. Be aware of Psychic Leap, because Psychic Leap is super scary. So usually you don't really want to punch into these Mews, because they are just going to shuffle away a lot of the time. A surprisingly high amount of time they're just going to shuffle away. So it's not really great. But if they can get off Psychic Leap. So you're going to play around those. But it is hard to play around it sometimes, but yeah. You don't really want to put yourself in a situation where you just lose if they Psychic Leap, because if they Psychic Leap and then attack the next turn, if you're in that spot, you're in a pretty bad spot. But yeah, getting early attacks is super good. Like an early Gardevoir attack on a Mew, it can just be game ending. Them needing to hit triple tablet is so unlikely, and even if they do, like, you have being able to set up more and kill them again, and you know, it's really tough. And they can't even kill the second Gardevoir EX if that happens, so yeah. That's the main thing I'd say about the Mew matchup. Feels pretty back and forth, but I think generally slightly favored for Gardevoir in general. Now going to Miraidon. This is kind of like the end of the playable decks. Miraidon is like the worst good deck in the format, I would say. And to be honest, just put some attackers on screen, because this is a matchup, just attack with your attackers. I mean, they're going to try and, kill yourself early. You can get the Shiny Arcana, it uptrades so well. You get the Zacian with the Sky Stone on their Regieleki, it uptrades so well. They don't have a lot of disruption. Draw with Curliers, as always. And you just need to kill what's active. You don't need to boss, you don't need to do anything too fancy. A lot of the time, you'll just be able to kill what's active and win the game. But if you can't, going for boss Sky Stone is super. If you go behind, for whatever reason, you end up behind, so it's not great. I guess the other matchup to talk about is Arceus that I didn't put on the screen, that I didn't put in my PowerPoint. I guess I'll quickly go over that while we have Miraidon here. Arceus decks, if they have Vulpix, it can be a bit annoying, but you do want to target down the Vulpix as early as possible if you can. If not, don't worry about it. The game's going to be a struggle. Memory skip. Only memory skip when you can duel with Roxanne. Never memory skip when you're only judging. It's not strong enough. Duel with Roxanne. Wait. Wait for them to take a few KOs. Just sack some Pokemon, whatever. Get them to 3 prizes. Memory skip Roxanne. Or wait until you draw it. Then yeah, go for the memory skip. And so yeah, that's the main thing. If they get the Vulpix, ideally you just kill the Vulpix early. If you're against like an ArcTina, yeah, you're kind of just trying to set up to knock everything out. You can knock out Bidoof with Cresselia, and that's super strong against them, because if you knock out their Bidoof with Cresselia, it's really hard for them to actually set up enough attackers a lot of the time to try and win. So yeah, I guess that's really all I have for Arceus as well. It's just attack with your attackers, to be honest. Gardevoir, well, the hardest part of Gardevoir, in my opinion, is the sequencing. But these are the matchup, guys. If you're going into a matchup, hopefully you'll be a little bit more prepared from watching this video. And yeah, thank you guys for watching.